An adult life is worth more than a child's until the age of like 4 or 5, it's barely a person. Just make another one. Sure, the parents would be grieving, they still lost something of theirs, but I see it more like grieving of wasted time and energy. What I'm implying is it's a bigger waste for adult to lose their life trying to save a young child than a child. This post was triggered by some person, random bystander, risking their life for a 2 to 3-year-old stuck in a burning house. Beers and pizzas suck. Unpopular opinion. Beer is just a drink people force themselves to like in social settings. It's neither tasty nor strong. If I want to get hammered, I'll have whiskey. If I don't, I'll get a lemonade or a mojito that actually tastes good. Same with pizza. It has no real flavor of its own, just bland dough with random toppings. If I want something flavorful, I'd rather have naan with chicken tikka masala, which tastes 10 times better than any pizza from any country. Why are these the default fun foods when they're so mid? Screens on everything, especially in cars, are dumb. I really hate how car manufacturers are putting gigantic screens in their cars. He runs the feedback from having dials, and you just see fingerprints everywhere. Even worse is the lifespan of the touchscreens will cost a pretty penny to replace. I am fine with small screens for the radio, or just having a small interface. Just having all the massive screens is so unnecessary. Chick-fil-A's whole my pleasure culture seems weird and obedient. Chick-fil-A knows how to run a drive-thru for sure, but every time I go through and an honor roll teenage employee says, "my pleasure," without missing a beat, I can't help but feel weirded out. It gives off a culty vibe, and like opens the door for creepy men to tell girls to smile. Chocolate chips need to GTFO ice cream. Have you ever been enjoying the creaminess of a good ice cream and then suddenly, CRK? I couldn't even find the right word, or onomatopoeia for it. But what I'm trying to describe is not quite a crunch, but rather the sound sensation of a rock-hard, giggity chocolate chip aggressively lodging itself between your teeth while contributing nothing to the flavor of the ice cream. It's not a pleasant texture at all, and all it does is needlessly disrupt the smooth creaminess of the ice cream in an obnoxious way that other toppings like brownie bits and cookie dough do not. Chocolate chips absolutely have their use for cookies, one of my favorite foods, muffins, breads, etc., where they are melted. But when it comes to ice cream, they, along with nuts, need to mind their own goddamn business. Like, who the hell is asking for these flavorless, unchocolatey pebbles to be thrown into what's supposed to be a creamy dessert? Edit. Before one more person says, "Why do you buy ice cream with chocolate chips then?" I literally don't for this reason. However, sometimes you can't avoid them because you'll be craving a particular flavor, i.e. coffee, but all the options at the store have chocolate chips or nuts in them. HDTV makes newer movies feel cheesy. It feels like newer movies on a high-quality HDTV has too much detail and appears like a soap opera or a cheesy commercial, like it was shot on digital videotape. A little grain helps focus the viewer on a focal point. The race for higher def is not needed for movies. Great for news and reality TV, though. Cured meats sucks. As Italian, I hate the fact that a big amount of Italian popular cuisine is just ham, salami, or mortadella, worst things ever created by human race. There are hundreds of ingredients in the world, and Italians just decide to put some shit ham found in discount store like Eurospin and ruin everything. No hate for who likes it, but honestly, without mortadella, the world will be a better place. Movies longer than 2 hours probably should have been a mini-series. I got roasted on Threads for saying this, but I think that if a director needs 4 hours to tell a story, it should be broken up into a mini-series instead, so that I can take a break between episodes, or even watch it over a few days. Take the Dune movies, for example. Nearly 8 hours of runtime across 2 movies becomes a lot more watchable as 8 one-hour episodes or even 4 two-hour episodes, 2-hour movies. On the flip side, I really just want to watch a really concise, cinematic movie. It feels like every single Oscar bait movie these days is 3.5 hours long, with a ton of unnecessary scenes. Many of classic favorites like Casablanca or North by Northwest are both much closer to 2 hours long, and I would love it if we could make good movies in a shorter format.
Movies as a first date is a bad idea. First off, you have little to no interaction with your date. You're just staring at a big screen in a dark, cold room. Second, it's hella overpriced, like a bucket of popcorn, and soda could run you up $20. I know it could be a good date idea for introverts and/or awkward people, but I feel like the first date should have social interaction, connecting, laughing, and not some low-effort quality time that isn't worth the money spent. Edit. By $20, I wasn't referring to the date itself. I was referring to the food. Ain't no one wants to pay 20 plus bucks for a soda and popcorn and candy. But at the same time, it depends on how much you buy of it. What I am saying is that I feel like money should be spent on something other than on overpriced snacks. And don't even come at me with the markup price. It don't matter, movie theaters are greedy.
Pancakes aren't nearly as good as they're hyped up to be. I live in Canada, and they're probably going to hang me for posting this. But they are insanely overrated. They're good, but only the top one. You pour the maple syrup or whatever, and it's good. And then the rest of them are just bland and have almost nothing on them. Y'all know that meme of the tube that's feeding the fat rich guy, and the skinny guy is getting a small drop through a small crack in it? Pancakes are like that, with the top pancake getting 95% of everything. And even then, the top pancake is only as good as its topping, and if you don't put a lot of it, the whole thing will be bland. You end up with a tower of thick, tasteless dough that takes an eternity to eat. In Argentina, we have a better kind of pancake. We make it thin and spread dulce de leche, the single best thing in the world, on it, then roll it up. Way better. Most reality television is scarier and harder to watch than most horror films. I began watching the TLC show Unexpected out of morbid curiosity, but couldn't make it further than 2 episodes due to how viscerally uncomfortable the whole thing made me. I've had this feeling before, particularly around TLC shows and shows like Big Brother. The fact that these shows film and profit off of people's abuse, mental disabilities, and stupidity is incredibly hard to watch. Even if some of it is played up, enough of it is real where it still feels exploitative and morally bankrupt. I get why they choose to feature narcissistic monsters and their emotionally beaten partners. They're probably going to produce more content than your average Dick and Jane. But to give these people a platform is disgusting. To watch their egos grow more and more as the cameras make already shitty people worse, it's like watching a car crash. I can watch any Saw movie on any day and feel completely fine, because they're so obviously fiction. But with these shows, I actually can't understand how so many people are able to stomach this. Especially since a lot of the people, not all but definitely quite a few, who watch these shows are adamantly opposed to horror as a genre. So in short, I know people clown on reality television for being low effort and filled to the brim with white trash, which is undoubtedly true, but I find it really hard to sit and watch these shows because it feels like I'm sitting and watching abuse happen and expected to be entertained by it. Sprite tastes better than every other mainstream U.S. sodas, Coke, Dr. Pepper, etc. Coke has been America's carbonated beverage of choice for decades. It's time we admit the truth. The bubbly caramel water doesn't come even close to that refreshing bite when you sip a fresh Sprite. Same goes for Pepsi. Sprite is just not too sweet like them and has a hint of lime taste, which is so refreshing and best. Streaming has ruined TV series. Shows used to run for 8 to 9 months a year with 20 to 30 episodes per season. Modern streaming shows run for 8 to 10 weeks and then bugger off for a year or two, expecting people to still care and be excited if they return. For example, the show The Orville is a sci-fi comedy that premiered 8 years ago and has, in that time, only ran 3 seasons with 36 episodes. the series Star Trek The Next Generation, which first aired in '87 and ran 7 seasons and 178 episodes in only 7 years. Granted, The Orville is an extreme example, but even shows that don't vanish for years on end still pop up with a half season's worth of content and then vanish for 40 weeks calling it a whole season. Even shows that still air on traditional cable networks are trending in this direction, just to a lesser degree. The Rookie has been airing since 2018, a year after The Orville, and has 7 seasons with between 10 and 22 episodes per season with only 116 episodes total. These series now take mid-season breaks for weeks on end and no longer drop a new episode weekly. There should never be a TV in a restaurant. I absolutely hate being seated in restaurant and having TVs all around. It's intrusive and distracting and frankly pretty classless, even in fast food places. Sports bars, that's why you go. Fine. But restaurant or even a nice cocktail bar? Ugh. Horrible.